Good evening. Welcome to Facebook Live. We have a room full of people that were in D.C. and they're going to give you their firsthand account of what they actually saw, eyewitness account. We're going to start out with a prayer and the pledge, and then we'll get started. Lord, please heal our nation. Get our government back on a constitutional and godly track. We need to save the United States and get back to the republic we are supposed to be. We need good, honest, constitutional people that will abide by their oath of office. In Jesus' name, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I think we'll let each individual tell their account, what they saw, and if you have any questions, you can ask online. We'll start with John McCann.
Well, to start the day out, we got there early, unloaded the buses at the Martin Luther King Memorial, right next to there, and we walked from there up past the Lincoln Memorial and the World War II Memorial, up to the base of the Washington Monument to listen to President Trump. He was in the ellipse area, and there wasn't a lot of people there at first. There was a long line to get in as people were going in. They were being denied backpacks, and they couldn't carry anything in. They had dogs going through the crowd quite constantly. We noticed on two of the buildings that they had two dual team snipers on the roofs of the buildings. We were all going to stay in a group because we were all worried about Antifa, BLM being there, or any anti-Trump protesters. We had people all the way from probably 16 to 80 with us. I mean, that was the age range, and so we didn't want anybody engaging with them or being hassled. So we decided when we got off the buses that we'd stay in groups, because a larger group is less likely to be antagonized or attacked. And so that was a real worry for us. So we stayed together in a group until we got up to the base of the Washington Monument. Once we got up there, we realized that there wasn't a lot of anti-Trump demonstrations going on like there has been in the past at just about every one of the Trump rallies that any of us had ever been at. And so we felt a little bit more comfortable. There were some people that wanted to go see the wanted to go see the Lincoln Memorial, and wanted to walk around Washington and see some of the sights. And before President Trump gave his speech, and so I said that I would form base camp right there, so that people didn't have to carry their rucksacks with them or whatever they were going to do. They could leave it there, it'd be safe, we'd keep an eye on it, and we just set a base camp up there because we realized people didn't have to stay in one great big huge group then at that point in time. So people started to go out and kind of do their own things in much smaller groups, 2 and 3 at a time. We listened to the president's speak, and from there we marched from the Washington Monument down through the mall area up to the up to the Capitol building. We had about a 15-mile-an-hour wind. It never got above 34 degrees, and we had about a 15-mile-an-hour constant wind. A lot of us were just frozen to the bone. I got to tell you, it was miserable. It was miserable cold. A lot of people were very cold. And so as we started moving from the monument up towards the Capitol, some of the younger folks left out earlier, and we knew that they were ahead of us, and I stayed back with the last of our group, which were more elderly people, because I didn't want them alone and wanted to make sure that we had security on everybody and that everybody was safe. And so we were walking up, and as we got, I was with Esmeralda at the time and another gentleman, and we got right across from the Air and Space Museum, and we met up with 3 other people that were on our bus. They were sitting on a bench there. And so we sat to take a little bit of a rest right there, and John Beckwith called me on the phone. Now I could see the Capitol just fine. I could see the crowd up there, and I could hear the chants of "Stop the Steal, Stop the Steal," and I think, I'm not sure what song they were singing. I think it was "God Bless America" or something at one time. And so while we were sitting there and standing there, John Beckwith called me on the phone, and he said, "Hey," he said, "Fox News just said that the crowd's throwing flashbangs and that they're gassing the crowd." And it didn't, I was like, "What?" And so I looked up there and I said, "John, it's gotta be fake news, because I don't see any of that." And just as I said that, I saw a smoke trail come from the top left side of the Capitol over to about middle of the crowd, about 45 feet in the air, and I saw a flash. And about a second and a half later, I heard the bang. I knew that was a flashbang. So I knew they were throwing flashbangs from the top of the Capitol building.
So what's a flashbang?
A flashbang is a grenade that doesn't have any projectiles in it. It's used to stun and distract people. In the prison system, we used to use them when we do cell extractions. If you have an inmate that's threatening violence and a lot of problems, before we rush the cell, we throw a flashbang in. What that does is it distracts them, it redirects their attention so that we can come in safely and take control. And so law enforcement uses those quite commonly with mobs and riots. And so my daughter was up in the crowd, but she'd gone ahead of us, and she was with Lance Lashway. And as soon as that happened, I told John, I said, "I gotta go," and I called her, and I was having trouble getting hold of her on the phone. We were having problems with our cell phones all day, especially the closer that we got to the Capitol. We were all having problems with that, we discovered later on. Finally, I got a hold of her. My phone was at 64%, and just that 5 or 8 minute call for me to be on the line with her and come up to the Capitol building to find her, my phone went to almost 0. Had just enough to snap some pictures, and then it went dead. And I had a power supply, and so I was plugging my phone in, trying to get the power up, and for some reason my power supply was not powering my phone like it usually does. I've got a power supply that you can actually jump a car with, and when I hook it up to my phone, it usually charges my phone pretty quickly. That's why I carry that. When I got up there, my daughter had been gassed, and thankfully for Lance, she only got just a small portion of pepper spray. They tried spraying her directly in the face. But I got up there, and they were up on the first barrier. And so myself, Chris Meyer, and Lori Boyd, we climbed up and went over, and I started looking around. As I was looking around, and one of the things that we study in the prison system is called the anatomy of a setup. This is important in the prison system because you don't want to get caught up in something. Once you get caught up in a setup, once you're into the trap, it's too late to back out, usually, when people get hurt. So it's real important for officers to understand the anatomy of the setup, and it's something that's beat into us and beat into us and beat into us in the academy. So it's hit on quite hard because it's a very important thing. As I got in there and I started looking at some of the things that were going on, such as the barriers, none of them were attached. When those barriers are put up, they're single so that they're easy to move, but when you put them in place and you attach them, they become part of a larger structure that is too heavy to move, and they don't hinge. When I got up there, none of the connectors were in the barriers.
And so they were very low barriers.
Yes, and that kind of, at that point in time, kind of bothered me. And when I looked up at the park police that were there, most of them were standing in a very nonchalant manner. Some of them had their arms crossed. Some of them were actually leaning on the balcony, and they didn't look like they were under any duress or anxious or anything. As I came up to the reflecting pool, I heard sirens, And of course, I was anxious because my daughter was up there, and I knew if I didn't take her home, my wife of 36 years wouldn't forgive me. So that was important for me to get to her. And as I got to the reflecting pond while all this was going on, I heard all these sirens. And just before I got to the reflecting pond, first, just to back up a second, about 20 bicycle police come by me on that road just in front of the reflecting pond, and they didn't stop. They just kept going. And I thought, well, that's odd. And I hear all these sirens, and I turn around and I look. And there was about 8 to 10 police cars coming up at a fast rate of speed on both sides of the mall. And as they got up to that road that the bike officers went by, they stopped, turned off their sirens, their lights were still going, and they just kind of got out of their cars and mulled around like it was a union meeting. And I was like, that didn't set well with me. Something wasn't right. I mean, if this is, if they're using gas and flashbangs, you know, from my experience, I kind of have an idea of what's going on. But when I get up there, these officers are not acting like this is a problem.
And there's no emergency.
Yeah, that bothered me a little bit. And then when I saw the barriers were like that, I looked over to my right, and there was a fence that was only put up for about 5 feet, and then the whole roll of fence is just laying on the ground. It was never even put up all the way. And when I saw these things, it hit me, the anatomy of a setup. And I said to Lance, Lance, this is a setup. We got to get our people out of here. This is a setup. Something's not right, and that worries me. So the 5 of us came back out and pulled back between the reflecting pool and the barriers in the front part of the yard there of the Capitol, and we were watching what was going on. The odd thing is the pictures that I took on my phone. This has never happened, and somebody on the internet said that I'm crazy, that this could never happen. And maybe I am, because I used to listen to people talk like Alex Jones about some of this stuff, and it seemed like science fiction, and I kind of went into conspiracy theory. But like Patrick Henry said, he said, I only have but one way to guide my steps, and that is by the lamp of experience. And so when you experience something, you got to kind of use that evidence to guide your beliefs. When we got out of there, when they put out the alert that there was a curfew, we all decided to go back to where the buses were. And as we were coming back, I crossed the road right in front of the Capitol in the reflecting pond. And as soon as we got to the other side, I told my daughter, I said, I want to get a selfie of you and I in front of the Capitol building. And I took 3 pictures. I've got a daughter that's a photographer, and she busts my chops all the time when I take pictures, and they're not good composition, or they're not centered, or so I'm kind of mindful of how I take my pictures, because I don't like having my chops busted by my oldest daughter. So every time I take a picture, at the bottom where my camera is, I can click on it and take a look at the composition of the picture before it goes to the gallery. So at that point in time, I can either accept it or deny it. After I took those 3 pictures, I looked at my phone, and I'll just take it up to here. My phone turned out like this, and this bothered me a lot. This has never happened to me before. I've got blank boxes where the pictures were that I took at the Capitol itself.
We got it good.
That's never happened to me. Now, when I shared that on social media last night, someone from Hillsdale got on there and said that I'm crazy, that can't happen. I'm spreading conspiracy theory. And I don't know about conspiracy theory. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. All I can do is guide my steps by the lamp of my experience. And this was my experience. That has never happened to me before. As we got on the bus and we were talking to people, there was other people that said the same thing happened to my phone, and that's never happened before. So there was quite a few of us that experienced this same thing. And so the lamp of my experience says, I don't know what they were doing or what was going on. I don't know why none of us kept any of our pictures at the Capitol when we were taking pictures of certain things. They're not on our phones.
Do you have any idea roughly what some of those are?
No, I don't,
Yeah,
because I was.
you were busy.
Yeah, I had.
Well, you were taking pictures of some of the things that you thought were suspicious.
Yeah, I took pictures of the
Okay.
officers, I zoomed in on some of the officers that were standing there on nonchalant, I took some pictures of the barriers that didn't have any connectors in them.
And the
So-
rest wasn't fully
So
complete.
some of those are those probably,
Yes,
since you don't have those pictures.
and I don't know,
Yeah.
but I know I was taking pictures of
Right.
those things, because that's what hit me, that it was an anatomy of setup, so I was kind of documenting the things that were set up as we were pulling back, because that unnerved me a little bit. And so that was my experience. Then we walked back to the bus. But the odd thing is, never anywhere was there anti-Trump people, even in small pockets, yelling things or counter-protesting or anything, which is odd. There's never been a Trump rally I've been at that those people have not
Right.
been there
Yeah.
somewhere.
I've been to lots of them and they're always there,
And
always.
they were not
Even the
there.
smallest ones.
So one of the people on our bus that actually took his daughter, as they got up to the Capitol, there was an officer on the corner and they stopped to talk to him. And while they were talking to him, he said to them, he said, you know, there's Antifa in this group and they're disguised as Trump supporters. He said you can tell who they are because they're wearing their Trump hats backwards. Now, if you go through the internet pictures, everything they're showing, there were some people that had helmets on and were carrying hammers and small bats. They were the ones that were caught on video busting windows. Now, it's odd to me that the police knew, at least that officer did, that there was Antifa there and how to identify them, but yet they weren't doing anything about that. I think if I had that kind of intel, I would be pulling people over with their hats backwards, and especially anybody with a hammer or a club, and I think I would be pulling them off to the side and asking them some questions. At the very least, I don't think anybody in law enforcement would do anything any different. But for some reason, that wasn't going on. So there was just too many things that don't set well with me. We didn't go there to take over the State House. We didn't go there to threaten or intimidate any violence towards our government. We went there under the First Amendment to assemble and protest and air our grievances to our government. That's what we were there for. We didn't go there to take over government. We didn't go there to riot. We didn't go there to cause any destruction. One of the things that happened in the front yard as all this was going on, a gentleman ran into me, and he grabbed me by the shoulders and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, it's fine." Yeah, that happens in every riot. People use please and thank you, and I'm sorry. That doesn't happen in riots. This was not a riot. This was not the intent of 99.9% of the people there. But I do believe there were agents provocateurs there to cause problems, and I do believe it was a setup. Because in May, that city was ablaze down that whole mall area. In fact, on our march on the way up there, you could still see some of the damage that had been done in May by BLM and Antifa, all the way down through there. In fact, the one building, the pillars, they were still trying to repair one pillar. They had a scaffold up with bisqueen around it. So we could still see the damage that was caused from May. But that was a mostly peaceful protest. And nobody got shot. But this, that was a setup, is being portrayed in the news as something completely different. So thereby, understanding what Patrick Henry said, I only have but one lamp to guide my footsteps, and that's the lamp of experience. This is my first-hand account experience of what happened.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You mentioned, and this struck me because I'll share something else I've heard. I don't know where I heard it right now. But you said that John Beckwith called you and said that Fox News was reporting flashbangs. You hadn't heard any yet. Is that correct?
I wasn't really paying attention
I think
at
there's
that point
enough
in time
noise you
because
might not have.
it could have been going on, I didn't know. I
Right.
wasn't paying attention, but when he called me and said that, of course, I directed my attention up there because my daughter was up there and I was looking up there and I said,
Yes, the answer to the question is yes, the flashbangs were already going on
Yeah.
before John noticed that they were going
Yeah.
on.
Well, you gotta realize too that it's very large and there was a
True,
lot of people.
true.
yeah, there,
And
by the time I looked up there, like, there's probably 250,000 people there. There's
Right.
probably 250,000 people up there.
Well,
John came late to the scene.
Yeah, I was 250,000 in one.
what struck me about that though is that I heard a report, could be totally inaccurate, that PBS reported at 9 a.m. that the Capitol had been breached. Didn't happen till like 1 o'clock, did it?
I don't know. Alls I can, here's the thing, there was people coming in on the front side too, now I realize, because there's videos that are on Facebook and on social media of the front of the other side of the building. And people coming in. In fact, there's even one where the police officer's doing this and waving people in. I've heard reports, I didn't physically see it, that there was some officers that opened doors and let people in. I didn't see that. I don't know. I can only report on what physically I saw. But the nice thing is we had 104 people there.
I can answer this question when I
And we had
know.
104 people at probably 60 different locations. So you're going to be able to hear firsthand accounts of what was happening in 60 different locations at the same time. And for some reason, all 60 of those reports of what people were seeing are somehow don't resemble the nightly news at all. It's not even close.
And that's why we're doing this. To get,
Anybody else want to give their account?
I never got,
introduce yourself.
I'm Esmeralda Banners. I never got close to the Capitol, but I can tell you first thing in the morning, I was with this gentleman who was walking with a walker, and he wanted to get closer to see Trump. So, you know, everybody said, you know, this is where we're gonna be, you guys go ahead and try to get there.
If I can real quick.
Sure.
When we came up to the Capitol, there was a huge line, and Ron had a walker. And that was the line to get in to see Trump. And when we went up, we went, okay, we gotta walk all the way back that way to get to the end of the line.
Yeah.
Some people in that line said, no, he's in a walker, send him up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what riotous people do.
Yeah, this is right.
Okay.
And they just kept moving us. I mean, everybody would step aside and kept moving us, and so we got about as close as we could because then the people there's so many people you couldn't move anymore. So we stood there, you know, and we didn't go in because they wanted to take our backpacks and we weren't willing to give them up. So we stood there for, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours. I know before Trump got on stage. But then we decided we'd go back to try to reunite with the group. And we turned around and the amount of people that was there was unbelievable. I mean,
Filled up.
it just filled up so quickly. And we both looked at each other like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna do this, you know? So immediately, I mean, the crowd just opened up like the Red Sea, you know? I mean, is that people that want to hurt anybody? And everybody was like so moving us forward, you know, so that we could move and thanking us for coming. And we just kept moving. And we must have walked at least half a mile. I mean, it's how many people were there. And I mean, we never encountered anybody and everybody as we were walking would say, where are you from? And they'd introduce themselves that they were from this and they were here for their family, for their children, for their grandchildren. And this is everything that we heard. And then when we finally got to the place where we wanted to go, we never found the group. We stayed around and waited, and then they did find us. And then when we did walk towards the Capitol, I don't know, I would say we were about half a block away from the Capitol where we decided to stand.
Probably a block.
Yeah,
Right in front of the Air and Space Museum.
exactly. And the men all went when everything started. And myself and another lady stayed behind. We just didn't want to go. And so I didn't see anything. I know I took pictures from where I was standing at the Capitol so that my family could see the layer of people that were on the front of the Capitol. And my pictures disappeared. And then we decided to walk back towards the bus we were supposed to meet, because it was really cold. It was miserable. And we encountered, again, the distance was about maybe half a block, I don't know, I mean, I couldn't tell you. But there was at least 10 police cars. And the officers were all just standing around, chit-chatting, very comfortable, nobody acted like anything, and all this stuff was going on at the Capitol while they were there. I mean, not doing anything, not looking like they were worried, just chit-chatting. So, you know, I don't know, there's something just very suspicious about all of this.
Doesn't seem right.
It just doesn't seem right.
You said your pictures disappeared. Were they on a phone?
Yes.
And do your phone look like John's? They're just
No, mine are just gone.
They just gone.
They're just gone. I mean, the pictures that I took of like the World War II memorial and things like that are there, and I
But
think
so certain pictures are gone and certain pictures are
all
not
the ones
gone.
that had the Capitol.
Wow.
It seemed like everything past Washington Monument
Yes.
Huh.
showed up.
And did you
Everything
saw,
from Washington Monument to the Capitol were.
when you took
Capitol.
the picture, you saw the picture there, but then when you went back to find it, it wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
Wow.
Now, I knew it was quite a distance, but I know you can, bring them up and.
But you still usually have something there.
Right, and it was completely gone.
Wow. This is
So-
the first I've heard about this. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now my phone, I took pictures the whole time.
What's your name and?
Oh, my name is Roger Sparks, and I'm not trying to cut in.
No, no, no.
But my cell phone, I took pictures the whole time, and I was right. I was right by the fences that went around the U.S. Capitol, and I was conversing with a business owner in the Jonesville area all the time, and he was telling me what's going on inside, and I was telling him what's going on outside. My phone, I got plenty of pictures.
And they're still
And
there.
I sent videos. Yeah, I got them.
Oh, great.
Great.
Yeah, I got them.
Great.
So, we can get those. And, yeah, that's fine.
See, that's what I don't understand. I thought it was just my phone. I just said it was
They
my
had the
phone.
towers set up. You see the towers?
Yeah.
They purposely set these towers up so it would miss,
Yeah, you were
communication.
talking about that last night. You saw
Yeah.
these.
Yes, you can see the jammers.
The jammers. Explain that a little bit.
Well, it was brought in with some heavy equipment for sure. It took a big truck to haul that stuff in. And it's very big, and it was they had it on some nice platform. It was on the grass, but they had a nice platform they moved this equipment in on. And it was big. It was all self-contained power. It had its own power, it looked like, the generators or whatever. So it was heavy duty to cut communication. And I can see how to do that. I think it might have been set up up there mostly by the,
For specific areas.
yes, because that was a staged event there. It was a stage. I got a lot of footage. I got a lot of connections, and I got a lot of footage on them. Well, they held it was Antifa that went in. And I'd just like to share with John, for one, I'd like to say that most Republicans are God-fearing people. We love the Lord. We want to help. We don't want to fight. We don't want to kill. And all these people were helping each other. And I don't want to get any recognition for myself, but for some reason the Lord had me bring a walker to that event. And I'm the one that gave the elderly gentleman my walker.
Right, yes, yes.
And that's why I brought it. And I said, that's why I brought it, because when my wife said, hey, we're going to take your walker, because I have some underlying elements myself. I said, it would be a good idea, but I was in good health, and everything was great, and I didn't want to take it, but I said, okay, we'll take it. I was going to use it to haul water on, because it took water to help people, not to make life miserable, like they were making it for us.
Yeah.
No, they had a couple of bathrooms open, but they could have porta johns all over the place.
Wherever the bathrooms were, we had to walk at least a quarter mile to get to them.
And Antifa was out amongst our crowd. When we were up, they were out there. I forget, I heard his name. He was the guy with the horns and the blue and red face or whatever. And he was, kind of dressed like a mountain man, Indian guy, whatever. And he was Antifa. Okay, he was up by us and he was running his mouth and that. And I told my wife, I said, pay no attention to that guy. And, because we don't want trouble. We were advised to not talk to these people. If they start with you, don't talk with them, because you can't reason with these people. I don't wanna say any more, but, well, I got a mouthful. But,
Go ahead, Esmeralda, did you have any more to put in?
No, that's about it.
Okay.
That's about it.
Thank you for,
Yes.
I appreciate all you guys coming, I'm sure everybody else does.
Because some of this stuff, even that I was on the bus, I haven't heard all this
Right,
either.
yep.
Because none of us really sat down and compared notes and did
You haven't
everything.
had time.
No.
I just woke up.
Yeah, my joints just started moving again.
Right.
We have Josh Stout here, and he was there, so.
Yes, my name is Josh Stout. I was actually there as a media and taking photos for a local business.
You can promote your business here.
Alright.
If you want to.
Hold back. Yeah, it's up to you.
Alright. I actually work for High Altitude Productions. We do a lot of videoing and camera work, ground and aerial. Well, since DC was a no-fly zone, they sent me, the lead ground photographer and videographer. I was doing a live stream to my Facebook, and I had put ended because my fingers was getting cold. But the moment I went to go restart the live, it kept saying broadcast error, broadcast error. I would look up at my service, and there was absolutely no service there. So I started doing a lot of photos with the camera that the company sent me with, and luckily it wasn't connected to no Wi-Fi, and for some reason we still got all the photos. We were waiting in line around the Washington Monument when all of a sudden they started saying, hey, there's no more line, because around where Trump was going to be was packed. There was no fitting anyone else in there. So we were going around, just kind of walking and trying to find the best spot to be able to see and hear Trump and other speakers that were there. Just in that location, there was no issues going on, no violence, nothing. Everybody was extremely friendly. If you needed something, they were there. They had your back.
Very polite.
Yes. But after Trump spoke, we started marching up to the monument, not the monument, the Capitol, and to be honest, if we were rioters, we would have busted all the buildings down along, not just the Capitol door. And that was Antifa antagonizing the Patriots and actually starting a whole bunch of problems with everybody. There is video evidence on, I don't know how many of y'all have TikTok, but of the Patriots going up and yelling at the Antifa when they were smashing the windows with the hammers, the sticks that the police carry.
Oh, nightstick.
Mm-hmm.
They had small bats.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would go up and start whacking on windows and stuff like that, and the Patriots, they would actually stand up against it. Anyways, I didn't personally see that when I was there.
I didn't personally see any violence either when I was
No.
there. I saw no violence when I was there.
So we were marching up there, and we decided to stop and record and take photos from a distance. And I was with these fine folks, and we were keeping each other safe. Well, every time there was something that would go on, I would try to get my camera out with our telescopic lens, so I could get further distances to be able to see what's going on, and each time I would look, I would take a photo. So there was a bunch of loud bangs I thought was a firework. but we shortly found out that they were flashbangs. The way we found that out is we heard another loud bang, and then, like Rutan was saying, about 45 feet up in the middle of the crowd, a bright light. So, yeah, there's no way that came from the crowd itself. That came from up on the balcony of the Capitol. Where the news medias are saying they were showing photos of police that weren't there. They weren't dressed up the way the media was saying or showing they were dressed up like.
At least not what we saw,
Yes.
where we were at.
From where we were at, there was no police officers dressed up like that. And I've got photos of what the police looked like.
Thank God you got those.
Yes.
There was just a bunch of ruckus going on all the way around us that I grabbed my phone, my camera, and I started zooming in to try to find out what was going on. I would quickly take a few photos of the situation, and it was police, kind of, what it looked to me like they were barricading and blocking off entrances and exits out of the Capitol streets. There was quite a few police that almost ran people over. And the people would be walking across the street, no lights, no sirens, all of a sudden last minute, light sirens. And people would try to quickly get out of their way. Mainly because we don't know if something actually serious was going on. But they would just go to the end of the street, shut their lights off, shut their sirens off, and just sit there. I've got photos of that.
If I could, real quick, one thing, you just happened to make me remember while we were there, as I was coming back, I believe it was John Beckwith called me again. He said, the news is reporting somebody just got shot.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I thought was odd, but of course I was on one side of the building, I didn't see any ambulance or anything come up to the building. Now that probably could have happened from the other side. I don't know, I didn't see that. But when he told me that, I went, come on, if that happened, where's the ambulance? I'm sure they would have called for medical. The medical could have come from the other side, but I never saw or witnessed an ambulance come up to the Capitol from that side.
Nor did we.
Okay.
I'd like to add something to what he said. They had police cars I know, this hadn't been staged for CNN or whoever, the mainstream media. They just had these cops going with their lights on, their sirens and everything, just going up down. Remember that?
Yeah.
For no reason at all. And they would be going all down the roads and, nothing. I know about, let's see, if I get my train of direction, I believe it was on the, if you're staying in front of the Capitol, which would be to the left? Would that be the north? Is that
If you're
correct?
looking at the Capitol from
Yes.
where we're at,
Yes.
that's facing east, so to the left would be north. Yep.
Oh, yeah, north. Okay, so the north of us, there was a whole bunch of, there wasn't hardly anybody down there, but they had all these police cars and fire trucks, and I'm like wondering what's going on?
Yes.
So go ahead. You're fine.
At the same time as 3 or 4 vans carrying SWAT teams also zipped down the road, and just a couple went up towards where he was talking about, and a couple went over by the Capitol building itself. I wasn't able to get photos of them because of how fast they were going. But that's when we first started realizing something's going down. At the time, we didn't really know much. We heard a couple bangs, and we seen a flash. But we actually started realizing stuff was going down when we heard from another person. I think it was someone you were on the phone with.
Yeah.
That on the media, they said the Capitol has been breached. But from other folks I was talking to there, I actually allowed one group to go in and then lock the door behind them. So if this wasn't staged, why would you do that? It don't make no sense. Maybe they had a reason. I don't know. But everything that we were able to witness from across the street, something didn't add up. There was a lot of fishy stuff going on. The cops weren't responding the way, if they were actual worried and all that, they weren't responding that way. They were responding as if someone told them to go do this, go do that, go do this.
The other thing that I found that was odd too is some of the other people that were in the bus with us, and myself, I talked to a couple officers. They seemed very congenial and very nice, and you know, it just seems like if something was going on that they wouldn't really want to be bothered with the time, you know, it'd be something like, you know, please move on. But it wasn't like that. They talked to us and were nice, and some of the other people said that they had very good exchanges with the police. And most of the Trump rallies I've ever been at, like at Lansing or anywhere else with the Michigan State Police, they were always very jovial with us and talked and were very nice. And the Lansing Police and the Grand Rapids Police, when John and I were up there, they were all very nice with the Trump supporters, always. And we were always very nice to them. And so, like I say, I can only speak from my perspective of what I saw and what went on, and things didn't seem right from what was being reported in the news from what my perspective was. Like I say, I wasn't on both sides of the building, I wasn't all over the place, but from my perspective, it was something completely different that I was watching on the news than what I experienced where I was at.
Okay, said enough seems like. But I encourage everybody, you know, stay away from the mainstream news. Of course, you probably all do this here. But I encourage you to get on some good truth news. There's one, it's called Brighteon.com, and you'll get some good coverage there. And that's where I got a lot of mine. I get a lot of mine. And there's, of course, you know, Alex Jones, and let's see.
Newsmax, I was watching that
Newsmax,
today.
yeah.
Bernie
X22.
Carrick actually today on Newsmax was questioning this whole scenario.
Well, I got some footage, some coverage on there where a shooter, the one that shot and killed the girl, he was standing with his Glock out a door. He was standing just like this, about 4 feet away from her. And finally, he made his move. He stepped out just a little bit and shot. And man, he hit her dead in the throat.
Yeah.
And she went down. And that was pretty much it for her. But I heard you got to check this stuff out yourself, you know, because, you know, I was told by my dad, don't believe nothing people say and only half what you see, you know. So.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we saw that, and I heard that it was one of Pence's security guards, one of the Secret Service.
Now, I will say this, and I gotta preface this, I gotta be devil's advocate here a little bit. And that is, I've learned that eyewitness testimony isn't good testimony. Because the human mind, if you get certain facts, our minds have a tendency to fill in the blanks. Okay? So I try to be very, with my training, I try to be very concise with my skills of observation and try not to put my own conjecture in there. But that's hard, because I'm a human being, I'm susceptible to that flaw, just like anybody else is. But what I'm saying is, eyewitness testimony isn't always the best testimony. I'll be the devil's advocate on that. And that's one of the reasons why we're having this show, so that we can have eyewitness testimony from many different perspectives. And then the viewers are going to have to make their own mind up with their own critical thinking skills.
Well, that's good, John. In that situation with that girl, I mean, she wasn't a big girl. If John and I were there, we were police officers there, we wouldn't even have to use a weapon. We could have put her on the ground safely, and nobody would have got hurt. There's no reason that she had to get shot.
Anything to add?
Hi, I'm Lisa Sparks from Hillsdale and Rogers Way. And my experience for the day was, it was very calm and peaceful. Everybody was super nice. It was just overwhelming how nice people were and wanting to help each other out, but it was a very rough day to endure.
Yes.
From 7 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening, we froze, no shelter,
No restrooms.
no restrooms. So because no restrooms to use, we were dehydrated. We were hungry because we would not eat or drink because we knew we couldn't go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
That's exactly true.
It was horrible, that part. I mean, I'm glad I'm there for the history, but that part was horrible. I mean,
One thing I will
I
check.
have never experienced that in my life.
I was wearing a tactical vest, and in that tactical vest, I must have had about 20 pounds worth of. I had some protein bars in there.
Beef jerky?
Yeah, I had beef jerky in there. I had 2 things of water. I had my first aid kit. I had my stethoscope and blood pressure kit. I had hand warmers that I was handing out to people because it turned out to be miserable cold. I think I handed out the whole pack I had except the 2 I had in my pockets. I gave you 2. So we did go in pretty self-sufficient. Anything that we needed, we took in with us, and everything we took out with us. That's right.
Everybody was trying to help each other endure what we had to endure, and these people are doing it because they love the country.
Yep.
They love
John, are
their
you
country,
coming up?
and we had to endure that.
Yeah,
So,
John.
I was waiting for all you.
seeing so many people.
Huh?
I was waiting for all you.
Come on up, take my
Yeah.
chair.
Right.
I'd like to add one
Come on,
minute.
take my
Come
chair.
right here.
I'd like to add something else.
Yep.
Go ahead, go ahead, go
My
ahead.
husband gave up his walker to the older gentleman that couldn't hardly walk. My husband actually needed the walker. We must have walked 2 miles that day.
Weren't you there, Chris?
And
What's that?
because he didn't have the walker, we had to carry our stuff, which was probably almost 20 pounds. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
I gained 20 pounds.
that's not bad if you have to go a short ways, but walking that far is,
It was brutal.
it was brutal. The wind was probably almost 20 miles an hour, I think.
Yeah.
And the cold, I don't know how cold it was, but it was cold. And there was people there that, I was dressed really warm, I kept really warm everywhere except my face and my head. But I mean, I saw patriots that had hardly anything on, like, oh my goodness, those poor people. I felt so bad for the patriots that they weren't equipped. And the mayor shut down the city, wouldn't even help all these people. It was so sad. It was very sad.
I add something to that, helping people. I did overkill on this. I told my wife, I said, I'm not gonna get cold. I said, make sure you wear enough stuff, honey, because I don't wanna be stripping my stuff off, give you, you know? So I made sure she had enough. And I made sure I had enough because the weather called for 45 degrees. So man, I bundled up, and I'm glad I
It
did.
wasn't 45.
I'm glad I did because Josh here, he was about froze solid.
Yeah.
He's sitting there shaking at the very start, he's shaking, you know, this.
I was one of the dumb ones. I listened to the news and dressed for 45.
Yeah. So I peeled that coat off and gave it to him, and that's how people were. They're just helping people. And I took 2 pairs of gloves. You know, I was just like overcoming it. So, you know, he was froze. So.
He definitely did help me out. Even after I tried to reject it, he said, "No, you take it." So
What about you, Lance? You didn't
I
take
tried
it.
mine up and pushed it because I wanted to be precise on how it went out. So I was like in the front.
Why don't you go ahead and tell your story next? I'll tell mine.
Alright, typed up, posted.
Okay, Chris, what about you, man? What you see?
Penny goes posted.
My name is Chris Myers, and I really went just to see the monuments, the Capitol, listen to Trump's speech, because I knew it was gonna be, like I say, part of history. I didn't see any problems at all. Walked around and took a lot of pictures of monuments and talked to a lot of people. Very, very curious people at that. Even when we got to the Capitol, they were still very curious people talking with you all the way up through. We did go over the fence and barricade. Even those people were very helpful, helping people to climb over the makeshift barricades and to make sure everybody got in and it was okay. And then we went in, then got right back out. Like John McGann said, some just didn't seem right. But even no more than what was in there, the people weren't pushing or shoving. They was very courteous the whole time, even on our way out. I didn't see anything other than a lot of people yelling stuff that was up on the balcony. Was the only thing I really seen. I heard the flashbangs. I seen the tear gas as was walking up there at that point. Other than that, that's about it.
My turn?
Your turn.
Alright, so,
Introduce yourself.
John Smith. Hi, everybody. I helped put the event together. We got 2 buses, 104
First
people.
off, you didn't help put the event together. This man worked his butt off and put it together single-handedly.
104 people. Half of them were for Hillsdale, the other half was from outskirts as far as Wisconsin, Indiana, northern Michigan. So, what I did notice, one thing right from the rip, is not one Trump supporter that went wore a helmet or brought a club or a hammer. I can tell you that right now.
Or no black gear and.
Nobody was
all
dressed
that.
all black.
Yeah.
Being cool. You
I
know?
have to correct you on that. I was wearing a black coat, full length, and my black military
Nobody
hat.
looked like a stormtrooper.
Right, no.
Okay.
But it
So
wasn't on backwards either.
So we get on the bus, we make our way, like everybody said, got off early in the morning, 6 in the morning, and we anticipated 45 to 50 degree weather, so I think the Weather Channel might be a little more organization in on the show. It was 30 degrees all day, 32 degrees approximately all day. It was brutal up on the hill there with the wind. It was probably much colder with that wind chill. It was unbearable. But we got in line. It would look like an infinite line of people. And several of us already got split up at that point because there was already a lot of people there. There wasn't as much as I was hoping there was, but there was a lot of people there. Some of our friends went down and cut in line and got into a closer area to see Trump speak, or see the other guest speakers, because there's several before Trump. But Trump was planning to come on at 11. It's 6 in the morning. So that means we're just waiting in line for hours or just waiting on the hill for hours. Waiting there after an hour or so, it started to get chilly. Lance and I decided to go over to Lincoln Memorial. The Washington Monument is the middle piece, if you, in just perspective for people. The whole stretch is approximately 2 miles long. The Washington Monument's in the middle. You got Lincoln Memorial over here, and then you got the state capitol here. So Lance and I went down to Lincoln Memorial. I've never witnessed this before. I've never seen it before. I've never been to D.C. And I was unimpressed, to be honest with you. And that, I never thought about that, John, with the BLM tearing that community up. Because Lance and I were like kind of teasing, making fun of the grass looked like crap, the water there, that the pond looked like crap, the buildings looked like they're falling apart. I was just really surprised. I was expecting like this magical place. So we get up to Lincoln Memorial, we check around, thought it was pretty neat. Coming down, there's these people putting out a huge banner as wide as the steps. And it was Nancy Pelosi looking like a vampire. And it was an artist piece of work. And Lance and I decided to hold the banner too and try to get on Newsmax that was there doing a live showing. I think we got on there. My daughter was trying to hide underneath it. So I have a 16-year-old daughter. We saw the memorial, World War II memorial, which, to be honest with you, again, looked like crap. I mean, I was really surprised how everything just looked, but maybe because of the weather, the temperature. But we went back to the hill. Lance and Danielle took off, and I decided to stay with my daughter. Well, again, we waited there for another hour or two, and it was the cold was just getting to me. And I had to keep constantly thinking, this is what I was thinking the whole time, because what we're doing there is small potatoes compared to what the Founding Fathers would do. Yeah, I'm thinking like, man, George Washington was like, man, I'm just too tired to go across the Delaware, man. You guys go ahead. You
It's
know,
too
like,
cold.
Yeah, it's too cold, or I just don't feel like it, So that's the kind of thought process I had in my head as I'm freezing to death is what it felt like. But I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and make my way to the state, or to the Capitol, because at the end of Trump's speech, because he was long-winded, at the end of his speech, the goal was to have all these people just march their way to the Capitol. This idea of an insurrection or whatever it is was never in anybody's head. I don't know who, that word just came out of nowhere for some reason. We're there because we feel there was election fraud and we're standing up. Our president asked us to come down there and represent him for that.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we did. So I started making my way. Now Lance and Danielle about 15 minutes ahead of the walk of me. And when I got halfway, I could already see the flash grenades and see people kind of erratic people in motion. There was a lot of people already there. I would say when I walked up, there was probably already 50,000 people there. And there's 2 point of entries and then there's a courtyard. So there's a left entrance, there's a right entrance to go up these marble stairs onto this mezzanine. Am I saying that word right? And it's like a patio.
Mezzanine, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very large marble patio setup. And there's a courtyard in the middle of that. And I believe that's where you were at,
I
right?
call it the landing.
Okay, so people were scaling the wall that was in the middle there.
We scaled the wall through the landing, right?
So on the right side there was scaffolding. I don't know why it seems like when there's events there's always scaffolding around.
Well, that was set up, that's set up for the inauguration. That's where they do the inauguration. So those
Tell you what,
scaffolding.
seems like every event where there's like what is that, where sponsored terrorism or whatever, there's
Yeah.
always scaffolding in the way.
Yeah.
But
It's like on cops, there's always a guy without a shirt on. Yeah.
So people were scaling the scaffolding. People were scaling a platform unit that looked like it was stationary on the left-hand side. I don't know what it was. It was metal though. So people were scaling everything, trying to get on. Well, there was about 30 police officers defending the building, or defending the patio, or if you will, the mezzanine. And like John was saying, there's probably 3 rails or 4 rails wide for those each step. So there's one on the left, there's one on the right, and there's 3 or 4 rails. They're not much longer than this. You know, and that's what they're using to protect. They weren't linked together. So I instantly walked up to it with my camera and started filming to see what the hell was going on, because I thought there was like some sort of violence between police and the people. And I guess violence is yelling words is violence in today's reality, because there was not a single punch thrown. There wasn't like cops grabbing people and arresting them. There wasn't like people attacking the cops. There was like nobody swinging us. I didn't see one punch. But I can see down the line, and I can see that there's cops at the top of the building throwing flash grenades down on their own people.
Right, so when people say there was violence, the violence was actually coming from the police.
Yeah,
And the
right.
peaceful crowd was like, well, they're throwing stuff at us, and we're,
Well,
got tear gas and flashbangs going on.
The tear
pepper spray.
so the tear gas. Well, the pepper spray. What was kind of funny is when I walked up, there was like 5 officers that was like clearing up pepper spray. They're like friendly firing each other with the pepper spray.
Yeah.
And you know what it was is since there was so many people pushing up on the stairs and pushing people. What it is if someone pushed from behind you, there's nowhere to go but forward. So when you're holding the rail and you go forward like this is when you get sprayed. So this is what was going on.
Then you get pushed back. And
Yeah,
then
you get pushed back
the other way, and
Yeah.
then there's pepper spray and flashbangs going on.
And the stairs are completely soaked. It's marble. Picture of marble stairs completely soaked in pepper spray. And so it's very dangerous and slippery. But I was up there. You can even hear me on my video saying, "Are you okay?" Because cops were cleaning up pepper spray out of their face, and they looked like they were injured from the pepper spray. So, but the yelling was like, "Why are you guys doing this? We're here to defend you guys. We're here for you." That's what they were yelling, and they were screaming it. And it sounds violent, if you will, but they're screaming. They're upset because they're backing the blue, if you will. All the cops that I witnessed, almost all of them, were identified. They were all wearing these like yellow reflective material type shirts or coats, and they all had badges, and none of them had like a blackout mask. It wasn't like your stormtrooper SWAT team. It was every single cop that I seen, I could identify by the face. I could identify by the badge and the uniform. It was very clear. They all had bicycle helmets on too, and but it was really, to be honest
Half
with
of
you,
them were bike cops.
yeah. So like I said, there was only about 30 of them. Well, being up there for a few minutes, I had my 16-year-old daughter behind me with one other person. Our whole crowd of 104 people were dispersed everywhere, and I didn't know where anybody was. And what I was concerned about was not that my daughter would be injured or myself being injured. I might have slipped on the stairs and injured myself. But what I was really concerned about is actually losing my daughter in the crowd.
Yeah.
Because it's like you turn around, everybody's gone. You know, like, so that's what I was concerned about. Well, it wasn't necessarily like pepper spray got me in the face, like direct shot. What it is the guy right here got shot. And all that spray just went all over my face, all over my phone. So,
And what is pepper spray and mace like? What is it
well,
like?
I think what they were using there was not very very toxic or
It was
high.
cinnamon.
Yeah, it would be like cinnamon in the face. Because, to be honest with you, well, I mean, I would say it's a little bit more potent than that, but first off, it's a foam material. So it sticks to your clothes and it stays on your clothes.
And then, does it keep emanating that?
No, because I thought it would be like worse too. It wasn't. I've seen my friend scrape someone in the face and it looked like a pumpkin around their head. This wasn't like that. So this was like a foam that got on you and it burned you for maybe a couple minutes.
Okay.
If you had wapes there, like I had some wapes, that instantly wiped it off and I felt instantly better.
Okay.
So they weren't using some high potent pepper spray. But as soon as it hit you,
Wasn't
you know-
OCCS.
Right, right. And also the tear gas that they're shooting was pretty low potency too, because we could all still stand there. So if it
I
was,
think that also had something to do with the wind, because the wind didn't make
that could be
tear
too,
gas.
because the wind was really wild.
It was gone real quick.
So, but there was a lot of flash grenades. I mean, there was one every minute. That's how many flash grenades were throwing.
There was a couple times they shot that tear gas right next to us, and if you got a good whiff of it, you was done. Like,
What do you mean done? What's it
Like,
mean?
You have to walk away. You
you can't
feel
breathe.
sick.
You can't
Okay.
breathe. You can't see.
There was a time where I had to bend over. I'm like, oh my god, I
Like,
can't
if there
breathe.
wasn't wind and that was actually there, you would have to leave.
So, okay, so when I got hit with that pepper spray, I had to think about what I'm going to do about my daughter, if I'm going to keep up here, and I had this one other person that was with us in our crew, but I didn't know him, and he's hanging out with my daughter, so I'm like, you know what, let me step down. I cleaned my face up. Well, dummy me, I picked up actually there was a mask on the ground, cloth, and I used it to wipe my face.
You got COVID now?
Well, what's funny is I cleaned my face off, and I did that after that. So I didn't realize that it was full of pepper spray, so I pepper sprayed myself with this mask. That was funny. But at this time, like this is, and from the moment of me arriving there and getting onto the stairs to me leaving with my daughter, because I actually did lose her for like a good 2-3 minutes. I walked all the way back, and forth. And I'm like, now I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh my god, I lost her. I don't know where these people are at. They're not answering phones.
Yeah, your wife's not going to forgive you either.
Yeah, as John's saying, phones are very sporadic there as far as the service and technology of it. I'm scared, but they were actually closer to the stairs, and I just didn't see them. Like I said, you could easily get lost in there. Like, where's Waldo? You're not finding Waldo.
No.
Okay, so we walked out to a yard, like on the side of those stairs. Well, more and more people were coming in. I think that's probably when John Rattan was coming in with his people. This was about 15 to 20, 30, maybe even 30 minutes since I approached. So there was probably 500,000 people there at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
really weird how time works too.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I also at this time was getting so many calls on my phone because calls were coming through. I got about 100 phone calls in 30 minutes. No, I'm not exaggerating that number. And I got probably relatively the same in text messages. Now I'm getting it from people from the bus, their family members. I was getting it from my family members. I was getting calls from John or John Beckwith. They're telling me what the news saying. I was also trying to do news interviews with radio people, and I got some of them through. But every time I get on the phone with the radio guy, I'd get called and I'd end it, and then somehow I disconnect from the interview. But as I'm moving back and forth towards the crowd doing these interviews and stuff, I noticed the cops went away. And then I see all the people going up on the mezzanine. And what they're doing was like sitting down on the stairs and kicking their feet off the side of the building. They're hanging Trump signs. They weren't breaking anything. They weren't breaking into the building because if their door was wide open, people would have rushed in. So some of these stories after the fact, I was kind of having some sort of conflict with it because I didn't witness anybody breaking a damn thing. Well, we have a buddy, Josh Logan. He was on the left side of those stairs. And what he witnessed was something similar to what we're witnessing because you can actually see it when you're up there around the stairs. You can see the other side of the stairs. You can see down the whole line. Like a crowd would get pushed in, so cops would run over there and push them back, and then this would get pushed in, cops pushing back, and just going back and
Heaven
forth.
forbid they had more than 30 officers there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but when their line broke through at one particular time, well, I guess this is probably when the officers backed off as their crowd went through. There were some people that were standing by a window, and this guy went over to the club and started trying to break the window. And I actually got a video of it off Twitter right now. I'm getting ready to post it online. But people are like, that's Antifa, and you see a Trump supporter grab the guy and grab the club from him to pull him down. Now, also Carla and Dustin Adams were on that left side too. They said there was a door that was open. And there was a photo of a door with open with some cops in and stuff, and she said that they were just like letting people come in. And I thought that was kind of weird. I'm like, why? Josh confirms this too. I'm like, Josh, why weren't people going in? He's like, I don't know. Nobody just wanted to go in. They were just all outside.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells me that these Trump supporters were actually being respectful for the most part. His opinion, he thinks about 20 to 30 people went in. And Dustin and Carla, obviously, we know about them. So what happened on inside the building, we don't know. And we know an innocent person, well, not an innocent person, but we know someone was shot in there. Before, we know she was unarmed.
Yeah, we do know that.
So why did one unarmed person get shot in there? That doesn't make any logical sense.
She's not innocent either, because if a cop is holding the door open for you and saying you can go in, right?
Well, that's assuming that she went in through an open door. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know because we didn't know about the door situation until after we got on the bus and talked a little bit about it.
We don't know that she went in through a broken window. We don't know that.
From my
we can't say she's not innocent. We can't say she's innocent.
Also,
we don't know.
Also, at this time, we all got the curfews on our phone. Our phones started alerting. Everybody there got an alert on their phone saying curfew 6 p.m. Now, our bus pickup was at 6 p.m., so I wasn't worried about it.
Which, it's kind of funny being around a whole bunch of people whose phones were working sporadically, and then all of a sudden everybody's phone just beeps.
Yep.
So,
well, the other thing is we started heading back for the buses because by that time I think everybody was just about frozen to death, and we were like, I know the pickup is at 6. If we get there at 5, we hope we can get the buses there at 5 because we were just frozen to the bone.
Well, we got the alert. We got a second alert saying, I think it said 5 o'clock if I'm not mistaken, or I don't know if that was what it was, or 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock again. I don't know. But we got a second alert. At that time, once the crowd was able to get onto that mezzanine, it seemed like a lot of the commotion died down.
Well, the cops went away.
Yeah, the cops went away. They were hanging Trump's banners up on the building.
Giant American flag.
You know, at that time, John and I were able to somewhat communicate at that point. We were able to try to connect to walk out.
Like you said, as soon as the cops went away, everybody calmed down because they was the ones instigating it.
So,
but when I finally got a hold of you, John, that's when I got in front of the reflecting pond.
Yeah.
When I got in front of the reflecting pond, then I was able to get a hold of you because that was one of the things I was talking to Lance about when we were in there. I looked at Lance and I said, this is a setup. We need to get our people out of here. And so he started calling you and I said, where's John? He said, I don't know. I can't get a hold of him. We were trying to get a hold of our people. We couldn't get a hold of anybody. Once we got out in front of
videos, I'm hanging up on you guys.
Yeah. Well, once we got in front of the reflecting pond, that's when I got a hold of you, and you said, "I'm coming down that," and I went, "Oh, okay, there's you." Then I saw you coming down the side, and so we met up and we headed back to the bus
and
together.
As you said, there was no urgency on police. I mean, we saw plenty of police on the way back, walking back.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, by the time
they didn't care at all.
In fact, by the time we were walking back to the buses, it was like dead out there.
Yeah.
It was weird.
I think
there was like no people walking.
Well, the one time I was on the. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, you think of Antifa throwing water bottles. We were always watching. Where's the water bottles? We did get a water bottle thrown at us.
Oh, really?
One water bottle.
But you were almost back to where the bus pickup was.
Did you back up? By the way, because I want to confirm what everybody else is saying, I didn't see one Antifa member dressed in all black. If Antifa was there, they're dressed in Trump support gear.
I dealt with 3 of them.
And
I'm leaning against the fence, John. And there were some younger guys. They're just rowdy. I'm leaning against one of those fences you were talking about. And I'm just leaning there, you know. I'm an old guy. I was using the fence, you know. And these 3 guys came up and they started pushing like this. And I said, "Come on, guys, we don't want to do that. You know, I'm leaning on it." And they listened to me. When they took off, then after the left, one guy said those were Antifa, and they had their sticks, you know, their clubs.
yeah, anybody that had a helmet on or a club that wasn't that was up there in Trump gear?
I can't remember that. I was just.
Well, I thought it was funny because none of the cops had gas masks on, but there was a couple people in the crowd that had gas masks.
Yeah, I can't help but think that there was some factors with Robert. Now I talked to Robert Sosha, another gentleman that was there, but he was on the opposite side of the building. All the action was on our side.
Oh, he was on the other side?
Yeah, at least that's what I thought. There was some action.
He was on the east side of the building.
That's where I think all these videos are coming from that we don't know what's
These
going on.
videos that we're looking at going, that didn't happen here. Could have potentially been on the other side. Now, I haven't confirmed that with Robert,
I don't know.
but I honestly, I honestly do believe some of the videos we're seeing are not videos from that day.
The
There's
only-
no evidence to show that there is from that day.
The only contact I had with anybody that was anti-Trump was just after all that went down and we got up to where our buses were gonna come in and at the MLK Memorial, and we were taking a left to go down there, a car come up with two people in it, and they were sticking their middle fingers out the window and screaming something at us. And we just let them go. We didn't say anything to them.
I
We
use
just
the F word.
yeah, okay. And so because I looked at somebody and I went, well, that's intelligence.
Well, check it out. So my 16-year-old daughter. Well, first off, on the bus on the way home, I show you guys all the video of what ABC put out. It's a video of stormtrooper cops.
Yeah.
Getting in a fight with Trump supporters. We know even by looking at the lighting of that situation, we know that wasn't that film that day.
No.
If there was stormtrooper cops, would you not have them on the side of the building with a million people and not on the side of the building with no people?
And remember gridlock, they posted pictures and the sky was totally different.
Well, see, that's the thing.
It was
that
fake.
the only time the sun ever even attempted to come out a little bit was just before Trump's speech when we were all up at the Washington Monument. That's the only time.
It was
Other than
gray all
that,
day.
it was
It
gray
was a bright
all
moment.
day.
So my 16-year-old daughter's like, that didn't happen. You know, she's getting critical thinking from this. So
Uh-oh.
she's like, that didn't happen. She's like, what the hell is that? She comes home, her best friend won't talk to her now because she thinks she was there to create an insurrection. And that's what for her best friend, 16 years old. So that's the narrative that's going around. Now, we went to Gridlock, we went to these other rallies through the year here, and of course those were violent too, with one person arrested because he's probably some fruitcake that was like pooping in the yard or something.
But gridlock was I was amazed, because that's the biggest thing I went to. I would have loved to have gone to this, but I couldn't. Gridlock, I got separated from your friend Josh. I was by myself. There were thousands and thousands of people. I never, ever felt.
Nobody's going to tell me.
Same thing, only bigger.
Nobody's going to tell me that any rally I went to, there was violence.
Right.
Not one. And nobody's going to tell me otherwise.
And we never saw
In
any
fact-
violence.
In fact, one rally in Lansing, as the speaker was speaking, a bunch of people kept come
Yeah.
marching in with their hands in the air, going, hands up, don't shoot, hands up, don't shoot. They come up into the middle of us, and everybody just kind of parted ways and let them come in.
Yep.
And then they weren't getting the reaction they wanted to, so they all started laying down on the ground with their hands behind their back. And I just laughed and I thought, lay there a little bit. I've been planked in the military. You're not going to last long. And they didn't.
They laid there for 10 minutes. And
Yeah, and then they got up and moved on. And that was the extent of it.
Every event that I've been to this year,
Which has been a lot.
I've been to probably 6 of them or so. Every time I went, I came home, the story on the news was completely different from what I witnessed.
Yeah.
Every single time. And including this time, obviously.
And never was it ever a mostly peaceful protest.
And how dare anybody that didn't go come on to actually share that bullshit narrative? Right? Like Dan Crenshaw, how dare him to get on and start tagging along with all the liberal media agenda? How dare Rand Paul? As if that guy, I don't want to say a bad word, but as if he would attend anything of that nature.
Well, it's just like the little scuffle down at Stocks Park.
No.
We were there in the middle of it, but the whole county, including people we all know and love, were passing judgment on those of us that were there.
Yeah, I mean, these people that are trying to create that narrative that are supposedly on the side of conservatism it's so shirky being that rhino or neocon that's really hurting this hurting our ideology, hurting the Republican Party, hurting the conservative
Our
movement.
republic.
Where the hell was our leadership there? I can tell you what, our leadership didn't attend. From Hillsdale,
Right.
it was the people that attended. Where's the leadership? Where was state people? Where was Congress?
Well,
where was Senate?
I will say this.
Where state reps?
On that rally, on those two buses, there were 2 city council members, and there was 3 leadership of the Republican Party there. So there were some leaders there. There were some people that We're there to.
Where's our duly elected people?
That's right. Where's our state and national people? We can't even get them to come and talk to us
Where the hell's our
and
county
explain
commissioners?
themselves. County commissioners.
Well, Namrata was there, she's
She's
not
not a county commissioner anymore, and these people are claiming Republican. Where the hell are they?
and now, people are calling for removal of those 2 city council reps.
Yeah.
Which is wrong.
It's wrong, it's like
What's
absolutely
of
ridiculous.
all things, they know the Department of Transportation. They're friends with the Department of Transportation director there. So they went and hung out with that person all day, and they come back to this,
Right,
and that's
it's-
what happened. So they're witnessing what's going on.
But even if they were there at the Capitol, they have a constitutional right to do that. Just because they're elected officials doesn't mean they give up their constitutional rights.
First off, this was not a riot or an insurrection.
Right.
This was citizens exercising their First Amendment right. Now, if you remember, in Grand Rapids, I said the same thing. BLM has the right
Right.
to assemble and to air their grievances. No one has the right to destroy someone else's property.
Right.
No one has the right to touch someone else's person. And even in that protest, and it was a protest, I said, there was video on the ground of some of the Black Lives Matter people trying to stop other people that were committing violence and writing BLM on stuff. They didn't identify with those people, and they didn't want those people to do that either. And so to judge the entire group
Right.
by what a couple people were doing is just as wrong as judging this group by what a couple people did.
Right.
For the most part, most of the people that were there peacefully assembling and airing their grievances to their government were well within the Constitution and the supreme law of the land to do just that.
You put a million people in a little small section of area, and you come out with $5,000 worth of property damage. You're doing pretty damn good. And I don't know if it was that. Let's be honest.
What happened in May in that city? What happened in May in that city? And nobody got shot in May when both sides of the street were on fire. And we could see the damage still that was done as we were walking up to the Capitol. Not one person was shot, and I don't know if any arrests were made. I don't know. But May, that city was on fire. And the news media portrayed it as a mostly peaceful
70 people
demonstration.
And there wasn't a post on Facebook with all the names and not names, pictures of people wanting them
Identified.
arrested and identified. Yes.
So
Which there is now.
supposedly 4 people died here.
5.
Oh, 5 now? Okay, so one person had a heart attack.
Right.
Where and when? One person had a stroke. Where and when?
Right.
Was it because of the peaceful protest they had a stroke?
Well, the other thing is, like I said, from our side of the building, I never witnessed an ambulance come up to our side of the building. Now, one could have come up from the other side, I don't know. But I never saw a medical team come up to that side of the building. No.
No fire?
No fire and ambulance.
So, this idea that they said 4 deaths. Well, someone died of a heart attack. You know what? There was a good odds someone's going to die from leukemia there.
Wait a minute, wasn't it? Maybe there was 4 deaths from COVID.
Yeah, well, of course all of them died from COVID.
They got shot.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, the odds of someone dying there is pretty high when you got a million people there, and of natural causes. I mean, give me a break. This
Especially
is
how cold it
ludicrous.
was, and how miserable we were, and
If
was
there was an auto
tough.
accident where someone died, they would have been caught in that number too. 7 people
Colorado has
died.
5 now.
You know, it's
At
ludicrous.
the end of the day, my husband got hypothermia the last 15 minutes.
That's
He was
right.
So
forgot.
cold.
Got so cold, man.
Oh, he
so
was
cold,
blue.
His body started shutting down.
started shaking.
And
I
a
do remember that.
patriot, a true patriot said, I've got a first aid kit, I've got an aluminum blanket.
That was Sandra Rancourt.
Oh, shit.
And she came to the bus and she said, we've got somebody that needs to get on the bus right now. And everybody stepped aside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Penny, if you don't mind, I'm gonna grab my phone and I'm gonna try to put it up to your camera and see if to show people what the epitome of that day was.
Yeah, we
Is
can
that okay?
go. I can zoom in on it.
So you have a photo that,
I have a photo of what was an example of what we witnessed that day, and I think you guys would all agree. Maybe we're all liars, huh? But I don't think
maybe
so.
the first time we've been accused of it.
Hey, John, is there a TV here?
Okay.
Did you know
So-
the president's gonna speak at 9 o'clock?
I don't get TV on it, I only get internet.
Okay.
This is the epitome of what I witnessed.
Aw. Yeah, that's cute. That's everything that I've seen at all of them that I've been.
I don't know if you want to zoom in there, but
I got it.
that,
In fact, one of our people had a sign that said free hugs. I couldn't imagine how many hugs she was getting.
just so
People
everybody
were
sees it,
just
that's what I saw.
astonished.
What did you guys see?
That's about
Lance, what do you think?
That's about what we've seen all over.
After she kept walking and
That's the
walking,
epitome of what I witnessed.
Yeah,
and people was coming out of the line to give her hugs.
yeah. Because she had a sign that said free hugs.
Yeah.
And she even asked me, she said, do I embarrass you? And I said, no, I'm just amazed by how many hugs you're getting.
Okay, any last thoughts, closing thoughts for people? I don't have any questions.
I did,
I'm kinda surprised.
just so everybody knows, because I made it a point on our bus, because they're all Hillsdale people, I couldn't do it so much. I feel bad for the other people, because they're going home individually to their towns, which they're going to be under attack with this false narrative. Here in Hillsdale, it's not the same thing. We got a crew of people here that is going to try to control that narrative a little bit better. Now, I've been doing interviews with newspapers and radios to kind of get that out there, and so far so good with these people. They have put out their 100% accurate information. So I think it's good, and I think we need to stay on top of that. That way they can't spin this any way they choose.
Well, I do know on social media there's a lot of people that were putting my name out there like it was it was going to hurt my feelings. If you want to dox somebody, my information is out there. Dox me. You know what my phone number is and my address. Send the FBI, the CIA, anyone you want to. My story will not change. And if they can get my pictures back, I would love that.
Josh, when you guys get everything uploaded, would you come back and anybody that else comes back so we can put the pictures on the screen and talk about it?
And explain when it happened and where it happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
so
we'll do that. When
we got about a week or so to
Yeah.
have the information.
when
put
Josh,
together.
like in a week or so, when Josh gets everything uploaded and we can have it on the screen, we're gonna go through the pictures, talk about things, describe where it is. So we'll have another show in a week or so.
Again, if I can say, Penny, too.
Yep.
We are not presenting this as this is everything that happened, so anything that they're showing isn't true because we didn't witness it. What we're doing is saying from our perspective what we saw when we were there. So if someone has something counter to that and it wasn't where I was, I can't say that didn't happen.
Right.
And I'm not going to.
104 people spread out across a couple blocks.
Probably 60 different
But
locations.
yeah, this is just their eyewitness testimony and what they saw, and we'll have the pictures. That's all this is,
But
and all we can do.
we all have the same
Pretty similar.
conclusion.
Pretty similar.
We did not see what the mass media is putting out. We just didn't see it. There's not one person on any of the buses that saw that.
And can I make an observation, something to I don't know if it's a good thing to close on, but people to ponder, think about. There was over 100 representatives, if I'm not mistaken, and several senators that were going to raise opposition to the votes being presented as they were being presented. Okay, so we're being told there was a little bit of violence. There was many peaceful people in Washington. Possibly a little bit of violence.
I don't know.
Almost all of those politicians changed their mind.
Yes.
Right.
There's about 5 or 10, I don't know, I haven't got an exact number, that stuck by. Nothing changed. The facts didn't change. This was brought out big time on Fox last night by 2 or 3 of the commentators, and I've almost quit listening to Fox because they've joined too much of the mainstream.
Let me just say one thing to go along with that. Mark said there was a little bit of violence. I don't condone, nor would I ever, any violence, and I'm not saying that this protest was great because there was only a little bit of violence. I will condemn violence, whether it's BLM, Antifa, or patriots that did it. Any one person must answer for their individual acts. That's the way it is. We have rights, and rights come with responsibility. And you should be judged by the way you handled your responsibility. But for everyone, either everyone in BLM to be called that they're criminal because a few people did it, that is wrong. Each individual needs to be judged on their individual action. And if they harmed a person or property, then they should be dealt with in justice in that manner.
By the way, John,
But
show me the violence is what I like
Yeah.
using that line now. Show
Show me the violence.
But my point here is what changed to change the facts? Why would these guys flip? Why would these politicians flip their vote?
Maybe it was a
because
setup.
of what a setup, except if it was a setup, and if we have very crooked politicians.
Well, you already know that.
All right. Thank you for joining Saturday night. Have a blessed and awesome weekend, and we'll see you on the next show.
This is Friday night.
I said the weekend, Friday night.
Oh. I thought you did too.
Love you.
Well, Friday night if I said Saturday.
Thank you, Constance.